this is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy for mattgranger.com. Today I'm here to introduce and review the Nikon D3x. This is their top of the line body. It's expensive, heavy, fantastic, and it's quite old now. This one was released back at the end of 2008. Ask anyone who's waiting for the upgrade. It's long overdue, but it's the king of the hill for the time being. Comparing this to their other full frame body, the D3s, this one, the best price you'll get it for in Australia at the moment is $9,250, whereas the D3s is $6,250. If you're buying it from overseas, you can get this as cheap as $7 grand or $5 for the D3s. This is a year older than the D3s. The main difference between the two is that this one is 24.5 megapixel, actually more like 24, whereas the D3s and the D700 are only 12 megapixel. Now I'm just going to run through the features on these, and then I'll come back and tell you a bit more about them and what I think overall.
Okay, now one of these cameras is the fantastic Nikon D3s, the champion of low light, and the other is the fantastic Nikon D3x, the king of the hill, high resolution, high price, high image quality camera. Can you tell the difference? Let's have a look, see if I can cover where it's written. Okay, can you tell the difference? There's not a lot, it's hard to give away. Okay, let's have a little look on the front. Again, cover it up. Can you spot the difference? Oh, if it's in screen, that's really going to help you. Can you spot the difference? I'd be surprised if you can. Back to the back. Okay, we'll uncover it now. Let the cable give it away anyway. Okay. This one on the left is the D3x, this one on the right is the D3s. There's not a lot to give it away, and I was actually kind of obscuring it before. The D3s has the one button live view here. This button's moved in a little bit for the mic. The speakers moved from over here to here on the S. And this one has an extra button on the side here which separates the zoom and info button. Otherwise, they're pretty much the same. They both have dual memory card slots. They both have the built-in cover for the eyepiece for when you're doing long exposure and whatnot. And the experience of shooting these two is really very much the same, except that this one is twice as fast as this one. Sorry, let's zoom out a little bit, shall we? This one is twice as fast as this one. This one is twice the megapixel of this one. If we go into the menus, okay, get them onto the same menu. Okay, they're reasonably similar, although the D3s is a more modern camera and it has more up-to-date menus. It has a few more options in there, some different white balance settings. The ISO goes a load higher. Overall, I'd say really the D3x is like the body of the D3s, but the menu system and button layout of the D700. Well, not the button layout, because obviously this has the integrated grip, but the lack of live view button, lack of video, that makes a difference, and the lack of the sensor cleaner. The D3s is newer menu structure, a little bit more logical, but overall they're hard to tell apart until you start shooting with them. You know, one's fast, one's high res. That's your main difference.
Okay, so overall the bodies of the D3s and X are pretty much identical. A few little feature differences and the menu structure is a bit different, but overall same experience to use the two cameras. I'd have to say I do really miss the one button live view. For example, if I'm, say, like I was on the weekend in a forest on the ground taking photos of mushrooms, it's quite annoying to have to put it into live view to be able to see it without having my chin on the ground, and then change the release mode to timer so that I can use the timer so I don't have camera shake. I didn't have a remote with me. And then after each shot, have to move the dial back to live view. It's very handy to be able to just hit the button no matter what mode you're in on the dial, and then still go back to that when it's time to shoot. Now the big difference, what you're paying for compared to the D3s and the D3x, is resolution. This is really a studio photographer's camera, or if you're doing landscapes or something where ISO isn't an issue for you, then this is the one. This has an ISO range of 100 to 1600, and you can boost that up to 6400 or down to 50. Whereas the D3s is 200 to 1280, and that will actually go from 100 up to 102,400. Quite ridiculous. The D3x is about half the speed. It doesn't have a sensor cleaner built inside, which I really value. The S also has several different crop modes enabled, so you can go through 4x5 DX and whatnot in the viewfinder and actually have it record to those, which is really handy. The live view button I mentioned, the D3s does video. It's got new menu system, and the D3s has a quiet mode, which the X does not have. But as well as resolution, what you're getting in this is it's just a slightly higher level of quality in image performance in every regard. Even though this was released at the end of 2008, so it's coming on 3 years old, and with bodies and sensors, technology really does matter. Each new generation, they're getting better technology, better images result. When you look at the results this camera gets from DxO Mark though, it's quite astounding. The S gets an overall score of 82, whereas the X got 88. And the brand new 5D2 from Canon came in at 79, so that shows how far ahead of the pack this is. In fact, there's only one camera they've tested that outperformed this by 1 point, and that was the Phase 1 P65 Plus, which is a $40,000 medium format camera, 60.5 megapixels. So it's quite amazing really, the level of color depth, dynamic range, and the overall quality of the image. What more can I say? So if you're shooting landscapes, fashion, anything where you've got good control over the light, you don't really need to worry about ISO, but you do want bigger resolution and the best image quality you can possibly get, this is the camera for you. That said, a lot of people are waiting on its replacement, which should be any time now. And this one's sure to drop in price even more once that is announced. So overall, if you can afford it, you got a need for it, grab it. Otherwise, the D3s is generally, for what I do, 90% of the time the camera I'll use. Rarely when I really need high resolution, or that's pretty much it, then this is the one I'll use. So I hope that's been informative. Thank you very much for watching. This is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy, for mattgranger.com. Cheerio.